Oh, so you do pick up after yourself and I am just exaggerating? Let's give every man for himself a try then, by user DangerousWeb2497. Years ago when I just moved in with my then BF, now fiancé, he was terrible at picking up after himself. He was a self-admitted mama's boy and went directly from his parents' house to our shared home. Barely 3 weeks in I was fed up, so when I told him that I was tired of picking up after him and acting as his maid he hit me with, "That's not true, we both clean up equally." After a bit of back and forth he said, "Well, if you don't believe me then let's split the house, you take care of your half and I take care of mine." I took that literally. Got painter's tape, divided every single room in half, including the kitchen counter, the inside of the fridge, the bathroom counter. Also he was cocky and suggested 2 months, I shortened it to 1. Not even a week and his half looked like a pigsty and he had no more food, because I stopped grocery shopping and cooking for him. The only exception I made was cleaning the toilet and shower because I was not about to use a filthy bathroom to make a point. He bought me flowers and chocolate, apologized for his behavior and started learning how to be an adult. We are 8 years into this relationship and he is an amazing man. We are about to get married. Buy what I can afford? Okay, by user Mashaz. TLDR at the bottom. On phone, so excuse formatting. English isn't my first language, and I'm a terrible storyteller. Last month, I was shopping around for a washing machine. For context, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. Yes, it's a place. Yes, it's in Africa. Yes, we have electricity and running water, and I'm a bit of a late bloomer, so I look more like a 23-year-old but I'm 32. Also, I'm a photographer and I dress for comfort, so I more often than not look homeless. Back to the story. I looked up what I wanted online and saw it was available at one of the major chains, but since I was free, I decided to go to the store in person. I went straight to the section with laundry equipment and one of the salesmen came to me. I was busy checking out the model I wanted, opening the door, reading the spec sheet and whatnot, so after he greeted me, we started talking about it. He asked if I'm interested in buying it and I told him I'm considering it and asked for the price. It was just shy of $900, I knew from their website, but since I was in the store, I asked if they had in-store discounts or discounts for return customers and inquired about their payment plans. I had bought a cooker there a few months before, so I knew all these things existed, and while I could afford to buy the washer outright, it would have left me a little cash strapped and I wanted to spread the payment over 2 or 3 weeks. Also, I'm frugal so I always look for discounts. At around this time, a well-dressed couple came into the same section, probably looking to buy something as well, and as soon as the salesman saw them, he walked to them and left me hanging. I called to him like, "Hey, I wasn't done," and he said, "I'm serving a client now. I'll come back to you in a bit. In the meantime, look around for something you can afford." I was furious, but I'm a bit of a coward, so I walked away and went to the customer service station and started making my inquiry all over again. The attendant offered to call a sales agent for me, same guy. Apparently he's the go-to guy for washing machines, but I declined. I told her I already knew what I wanted and I just needed someone to help me with the paperwork and payment and I'll be on my way. She did just that. I paid the full amount out of spite, and as we were finishing up, the salesman came up to her claiming I was his client, which I denied, and the attendant listed herself as the sales agent. It turns out they earn a 10% commission from each sale and the guy just missed out on a decent bonus. Salesmen earn around $300 plus commissions monthly. As I left, I turned to him and said, "Turns out I could afford it," with the biggest grin I could muster. Felt good. Best part? The couple he ditched me for left without buying anything. TLDR, salesman treats me horribly so I buy what I need though another salesperson on the same store and he misses commissions. Edit, I didn't think this would get so much attention. Thanks for the upvotes and awards. Be kind to everyone y'all. It costs nothing. Edit 2, the part about electricity and water is a joke. Ask any African. Also, I probably know that African. Edit 3, this post has taken off. I have tried to reply to as many comments as I could, but I simply can't keep up. Thanks again for the awards. It's well past my bedtime now so. See ya. Be good. @will employment cuts both ways, sister, by user public_pressure_4516. A few years ago, my husband was laid off at the start of summer. I had a part-time gig as a teacher, but it didn't come with benefits. I had to take a job, any job, to provide health insurance, MERCA, while hubby looked for a new gig. I got a job as a teller at a bank. I tried, but was new to keeping a till, so a few times a week, my register wouldn't balance. Never very much money, under a few dollars. But the whole staff had to stay late until we straightened it out. I felt horrible for the rest of the staff. As if that shame wasn't bad enough, my supervisor, Mel, would remind me that I worked at will and they could fire me at any time. Our family's health insurance going up in smoke was terrifying to me. Sometimes it was hard to hold back tears. I got better as the summer went on, but every few weeks, if I would make a mistake, Mel would smile as she warned me that you can be fired for no cause and you'd have to leave immediately. It was so fantastically over the top. At one point, I pointed out that constant threats didn't create a healthy environment. Her smile only broadened. It goes both ways. You can quit at any time, you know. When the school year started in the fall, I needed to take my daughter to tour her new school for her first day. I asked to take my lunch in the afternoon, so I could help my daughter. Though they approved it, when it came time for my lunch, they insisted I work through my lunch because they were being slammed. By then, Hubs had found a job with insurance and, even better, I'd been offered more hours teaching, though still not full-time. It was enough. The next day I practically floated into the bank. I waited until 10 a.m., then told Mel I needed to talk with her. She replied that she was very busy and it would have to wait until after we closed. "Oh, I won't be here then," I said. She looked like I'd smacked her with a brick. "What?" I smiled. "Remember that I needed to bring my daughter to her new school yesterday? You wouldn't let me do that, so I'm doing it this afternoon." She didn't get it at all. "You can't just take an hour off when I had to interrupt." "I'm not taking an hour off. I'm leaving. For good. At noon. You kept reminding me that I work at will. Thanks for those reminders. I'm leaving for good in 2 hours." While Mel fumed, I waited on customers. I practically sang my greetings to them and was so fucking cheerful, customers kept asking me why I was so happy. Smiley face, I was delighted to tell them, because I'm leaving forever at noon. After a half hour of that, Mel thought I should just go right away. And I did. I fucking skipped right out the door, then gave Mel a very elaborate curtsy at the door. Smiley face, the time the airline I worked for lost thousands because they didn't want to pay me $10.50, by user Mcade. So the year before COVID hit the US I started working for one of the major airlines at my local airport as a baggage handler. I absolutely loved the job, I just enjoyed being around planes from the ground level. When I started there were no full-time positions available so I was working part-time 6-hour nights 5 times a week. The way it usually works is each gate has a lead, the person with extra training to do the load planning and scanning and towing the planes to the runway as well as guiding them in, and a few baggage handlers. Now I had only been there a few months but I was working my ass off and showing that I was a team player. I decided I was gonna try to become a lead even though they usually want you to work a year or so as a handler first. I was confident and ended up passing the training course with ease. The problem was they had no availability for more leads so I was put into what was basically an on-call lead kind of thing where they could upgrade me for the day if they needed more leads. Now whenever they upgrade you to lead even if it's for a single flight they have to pay you the extra $1.75 HR leads get for your whole shift. Remember I work 6-hour days so $10.50 is the cost to make me a lead for my shift. Now for a few months everything was great. I was a part-time baggage handler but I was working as a lead for my whole shift every shift and I was loving every second of it. Something about towing huge planes full of people to the runway was just awesome to me. Enter everyone's favorite virus good ol' COVID-19. Within months the airline industry is tanking pretty hard as nobody wants to travel and get stuck somewhere. Supervisors are being told to cut costs everywhere they can which makes sense given the circumstances. Cue up the night of my MC. It's maybe 11 p.m. and I'm on till 1 a.m. Supervisors have sent a large chunk of workers home and those of us left are being sent all over the airport to cover the flights we do still have coming. I get a call from the office that assigns your flights and am told to go grab a box and a walkie, the stuff needed to plug into the plane to talk to the flight deck. They tell me head to the gate the flight's landing in 5 and to just put in my request for lead. When asked to be a lead you put it in on the company app and a supervisor approves your pay raise for the day. I get to my gate, check the load coming off the plane, brief the handlers on what's coming down and we all get to our spots to bring the plane in. I see the plane coming down the lane to my gate and at the same time my zone supervisor drives up to my gate and asks me to come over. He then tells me something along the lines of, "Hey man, we can't upgrade you to lead right now, we just can swing that extra expense right now." I respond with, "Okay, so who's going to bring this plane, as nobody else on the gate is lead trained and supervisors are not allowed to do any of our work because of the union rules." He then tells me he is going to go find another lead to bring it in and to just assist him when he arrives. So I'm like, sure, whatever. Now it's important to note that planes have very tight metrics for how long it can take to bring a flight and unload and reload for the next flight. The flight pulls up to the edge of my gate and comes to a stop as there's no lead there guiding them in, so the flight just sits there waiting and the entire gate crew are also just standing around waiting. 20 minutes go by and my radio I still have on me goes off and the office is pissed. They want to know why the hell I'm holding this flight short and not bringing it in, to which obviously I reply with, "What do you mean? Ex-supervisor told me they couldn't afford to pay me for lead work today and that he would find someone else." He then asks me if I can please just bring it in for him and I said, "Sorry, but if you're not willing to pay me to do the lead work, then I'm only going to do the handler work I'm being paid for." As it turns out, they sent too many leads home this night and the ones they did have were all busy on flights already. After about 45 minutes, a lead from 2 terminals over finally strolls up and we're able to unload the plane as usual, but that 45 minutes the plane sat idle at the gate cost thousands in extra fuel plus OT for flight attendants forced into mandatory overtime from the situation, not to mention all the passengers who were pissed off from the extra weight who all were comped some credits with the airline for the trouble. I also come to find out the supervisor's bonus were based on flight turn time and this 45 minutes short hold probably cost him his bonus in a write-up. So basically the TLDR is supervisor didn't want to pay me the $10.50 for me to be a lead for the day and instead cost the airline thousands on a heavily delayed plane at the gate and probably his yearly bonus that all could have been avoided by just paying me the extra $1.75 HR for my 6-hour shift. Sorry for any spelling and grammar errors, I'm not the best writer, cheers. Edit. Thank you so much /karaoke superstar for fixing my truly terrible writing, your awesome friend, laughing face. Edit again. I feel I should also add that as per the company rules only leads can bring planes and so bringing in the flight for him while not being designated as a lead would technically also be against their rules. Stop complaining about your neighbors. Okay. Sure, by user Theangry Arcanist. Now, that story is very recent, and the told you so effect is never as sweet as this was. I have moved in an apartment with a roommate last summer. When we first came in, the biggest part of the sale was the fact that the apartment was freshly renovated, and soundproof. This one is important, and you'll see why. So when we got in, my roommate immediately fell in love with it, and I was too. When we moved in, we were very careful not to bother anyone, as we wanted to quickly have a good relationship with our neighbors. Oh, did you see the new neighbors? They only moved during the day, they don't make sound during the night. What nice people, kind of deal, and we can safely say it worked. What we did not know, however, is that we were only 3 renters when we first came in, us on the floor, another family upstairs on the opposite side, and another one on the 3rd floor, with one empty apartment between us. Turns out the soundproof statement was accurate, but only in regards to the inside to outside situation. When our upstairs neighbors moved in, it was a goddamn nightmare. Sound from 5 a.m. to past midnight, 5 days in a row, dropping stuff, speaking loudly, yelling or walking in their apartment with shoes on. Out of frustration on the 5th day, I walk upstairs and meet my neighbor, at midnight. I ask them to cease their activities for the night. I have work in the morning, and I cannot be kept up all night. I understand they were freshly moved in, and they might have had a tight schedule, but midnight was too late to be moving stuff. He didn't reply and closed the door on me. I go downstairs, and the sound starts over again. I notify my landlord, and he tells me he'll handle it, and apologized for the situation, explaining to me my neighbor was just moving and that he probably didn't understand what I was saying because of language barrier. The neighbors were extremely loud. I know a lot of Karen will use that as an excuse to shower their neighbors with hate, but when I say loud, I mean it. There was no stop to their loud noises. It seemed like they couldn't be bothered to hold something without dropping it, or jumping up and down on the floor, or purposefully banging the bed frame against the wall when having sex. I recorded the event, and even install microphones in my home jack to my computer, activating and recording every time there is strong vibration in the house. Over 98 events on Monday, February 14th. I was livid. I sent that to the landlord and explained this cannot continue. First, the apartment was poorly soundproofed, which meant we were hearing every damn sound at all time. Second, we had notified the neighbors about the situation, and they have ignored it. I have notified the landlord to awaken them to our situation. I report the issues several times, and even advised my landlord that there were very heavy-sounding thuds coming from upstairs, which worried me. He answered with, "Stop complaining about your neighbors, already. I have other things to do." I have answered, "Understood, sir. Please be advised this will be my last communication and action to help you in that regard. You know when I said I had loud bangs? Turns out our upstairs neighbor was doing bench press lifting in his living room, and the heavy thuds I kept hearing was him dropping his weights on the ground. I had warned my roommate about removing anything she didn't want broken from the living room, and lo and behold, 4 days later, the first crack appeared. Then another. The floor was giving up. I moved the couch out of the way, and moved the TV and consoles into the bedroom. Fast forward to 3 days ago, after another series of loud bangs, I had a loud crack, followed by a "oh fuck," followed by very loud noises. I went to the living room, to see my neighbor on the ground, with several actually gruesome injuries due to the fact he just went through the floor and brought his bench and weight rack with him. I called an ambulance, and the police. The police asked me if I reported the issue with my landlord, which I could confirm, due to my communications being made via email. I sent everything, and I am now, of course, filing to break my lease due to uninhabitable dwelling. The landlord came in yesterday, and just proceeded to explode. Told me I should have made him aware that my neighbor was doing dangerous things, to which I answered I had notified him about the very loud sounds and he never investigated, and that he also ordered me to stop complaining about my neighbors. It was not my responsibility to go out of my way to protect his assets if he is unwilling to cooperate with me. My neighbor's roommate and I are now residing in a hotel until we can find a new place to live. We are now also looking towards adding a bit more salt to the injury by maybe filing for criminal negligence against both our landlord and the neighbor, the first because the apartment was apparently having some flaws and the latter for endangering us. Had I not caught up on what caused the sound earlier, me or, God forbid, my roommate could have been under that. Anyway, it was a fun week. And I do enjoy the accommodations of my hotel. Never went to a 4-star spa-included hotel before. Turns out the chocolate on the pillow is a lie and I am very disappointed about that. TLDR, my neighbor was a noisy bastard that went through the floor with his weightlifting equipment, and my landlord ignored me when I complained about the noise. Edit, as I have advised to a few commentators, I followed up with my roommate, and she did not take pictures of the event. She got a bit mad I asked considering what just happened, and questioned my priorities. I then explained that our Reddit story got a lot of attention and some people in the comments requested some visual proof. I will spare you her answer. I will just add that it's okay not to believe the story based on my word alone. If people actually didn't question it, I would be worried. When I posted this story, my only intent was to share my experience and hey, malicious compliance, neat. If there was a horrible landlord bad neighbor Reddit I would have found prior to submitting this story, probably would have went there instead. I will also add that I am not an expert or an engineer. How and why something like weights and the like would cause part of the floor to collapse, I cannot say. Was there a structural damage prior? Was there water damage that never was addressed, just covered up? Was the structure just not as sound as I believed it was when I got in? I cannot say. I understand some of you might have worked in construction and never have experienced such an event, or have actual reasons to suspect a lie due to personal and professional experience. Once again, you can, and should, question anything on the internet. I just hope you also apply that kind of skepticism, and I mean wanting proof or the opinion of an actual expert prior to making a decision, to more than just Reddit posts. For those who made us laugh and those who have spoken to us, who have been encouraging and constructive, people who actually gave us advice, I thank you very much. It was very nice of everyone, and I wish you the best. Update. My brother has agreed to take the case and look at the options. We are not feeling very vindictive and our insurance are going to cover most of the costs, so we might file for negligence. I'm not a lawyer myself, I don't know the terms in English, but basically, the landlord should have had his building inspected before renting, which was apparently not done. Landlord has apparently calmed down after the events and has apologized for everything. He has scheduled a visit from an inspector to check the integrity of the apartment and the cause of the damage that would have allowed a human and exercise equipment to go through the floor and ceiling. In exchange for not pressing charges, he has agreed to reimburse all the money we have invested into the rent, our stay at the hotel and a little extra as an apology, and the guarantee to either repair the apartment and soundproof it properly or, if it is not an option to go back, he will relocate us onto another of his building, which are a lot better than what we had, reduce our rent quite significantly for as long as we stay, with papers to back his offer up, and a full year of free rent. This is actually quite generous, in the current rent market. I'm leaving the final say to roommate. On my end, I was not injured, she was not, and this could have been just a freak accident. Yes, the landlord is a bit of an ass, but let's be honest, we all had worse, landlord-wise. Plus, even if we take him up on his offers, the upstairs neighbor might be looking for some severe reparation, he did get injured, after all. But we would be happy to hear about your opinion, what would you say? Take this further or just take the refund, plus the full year, rent-free year and then low rent for the years to come? Comment from OP. I just want to thank everyone for their kind words, their jokes, their encouragements. They have very much helped both of us, and got us to smile a bit more. For the others, I do not wish anything less. I just hope you are doing well, that you are safe. I appreciate the effort of those who were still able to voice their disbelief while being respectful, and for the others, well, you know. It's the internet, what are we going to do? Love you all, stay safe, and thank you for your time.